God removed them so you could see what you were ignoring. This word is for someone who's been replaying everything that happened, the breakup, the silence, the confusion. You keep wondering if you made a mistake, if you should have held on longer, tried harder, prayed more. Maybe if you had just been a little more patient, a little more understanding, things would have worked out. You called it love, but what you were really experiencing was attachment. The comfort of familiarity, the high of potential, the hope that maybe this time they change. Distance gave you vision. Now you can see the red flags you called passion, the manipulation you called chemistry, the inconsistency you called mystery. What you're realizing now is that love was never supposed to hurt this much. Sometimes clarity only comes through separation. That's why God had to pull you out, because as long as you were close, you weren't able to hear him. John 15 verse 2 says, "He cuts off every branch in me that bears no fruit." Yes, the cutting process was painful, but it needed to be done. God was pruning what couldn't go with you into your next season, because you had to lose what was standing in front of you in order to gain clarity of what it was holding you back from. When you were in it, you couldn't see anything. You made excuses. You justified the behavior. You told yourself nobody's perfect and every relationship has problems. And yes, that's true. But there's a difference between problems you work through together and patterns that keep breaking you down. God had to create distance so you could finally see the pattern. So you could finally see that every time they said, "I'm sorry," nothing actually changed. Every time they promised this time will be different, it was the same cycle. And every time you tried to bring up how you felt, somehow you ended up being the problem. Distance gave you vision, and now you can see clearly. And let's be honest, the relationship had moments that felt powerful. The connection, the chemistry, the we just get each other moments. But there was no peace. You were anxious. You were always checking your phone. You were always wondering if they were upset, if they were pulling away, if you said the wrong thing. You were always waiting for the next apology, the next promise, the next reset. And I'm always going to quote the scripture. 1 Corinthians 14:33 says, "For God is not the author of confusion, but of peace." And yes, the context is for a church, but the principle applies to every aspect of your life. If God is not the author of confusion, then who authored the constant emotional chaos? It wasn't him, and deep down you knew it. You kept praying for God to fix the relationship, but God was trying to show you that it was never supposed to be this hard. Love that comes from God doesn't drain you. It doesn't leave you second guessing yourself. It doesn't make you feel like you have to walk on eggshells or shrink yourself to keep the peace. Real love, real godly love brings peace. Even in the hard moments, even in the disagreements, there's an underlying foundation of safety and respect. And if it wasn't there, it wasn't love. It was attachment. It was trauma bonding. It was hope in potential that was never going to manifest. Right now, the memories still sting. You scroll past their name and feel something twist in your stomach. You see a place you used to go to together and the hurt comes rushing back. You hear a song and suddenly you're back in that moment. But I want you to hear this. Soon, that same memory will bring gratitude and not grief, because you'll see it for what it was, a lesson that needed to be learned. Genesis 50 verse 20 says, "You meant evil against me, but God meant it for good." God is using your heartbreak as a tool for healing. The very person who hurt you will become the reason you finally learn what peace really looks and feels like. They'll be the reason you finally set boundaries. They'll be the reason you finally stop settling. They'll be the reason you can now recognize red flags before you're 6 months deep. That relationship was experience. And experience is not wasted time. Yes, it was painful, but it was not wasted. God is taking every tear, every sleepless night, every moment you felt like you weren't enough, and He's turning it into wisdom. He's turning it into discernment. He's turning it into a testimony that will help someone else who's going through the same thing. Here's the warning. Do not mistake loneliness for confirmation. Sometimes the enemy tries to repackage your past as your peace, hoping you'll open the same door that God closed. They might text you, they might show up, they might say all the right things, and for a moment you'll feel that old pull. You'll remember the good times. You'll think maybe they've changed. Maybe this time will be different. But Proverbs 26 verse 11 says, as a dog returns to its vomit, so fools repeat their folly. As harsh as that is the truth. Because God is being blunt in this way because He loves you too much to watch you go back to what He rescued you from. You're not being heartless for actually moving on. You're being healed. Let them think you changed. Let them say you're different now. You're not the same person. Because you're not. You are different. Healing will always make you unrecognizable to the person who benefited from your brokenness. They got comfortable with the version of you that tolerated disrespect, accepted breadcrumbs, and kept lowering your standards. But that version of you is gone. And the new you, the healed you, you're not going back. So, you're not crazy, you're not bitter, you're not being difficult, you're healing. And healing looks like standards. Healing looks like boundaries. Healing looks like walking away from things that used to have access to you. God didn't let them leave to break you. He let them leave to show you what you were accepting, to show you what you were ignoring, to show you that you deserve so much more than what you were settling for. And now you can finally see clearly. You'll never confuse inconsistency for love, tension for passion, or attention for commitment. The right person won't make you question where you stand. They won't keep you guessing. They won't make you feel like too much or not enough. They'll meet you with the same energy, the same intention, the same peace that God designed love to carry.